Hey everyone, it has been a minute since I have been on here live. We went on a family vacation and then I was away for another thing as well. And now, in case you haven't noticed, I have a cold. So it's lovely. It's that time of year and there we go. I think that's better. If you are tuning in live, make sure to make your comments and I will reach out and see if we can answer your questions today. I'm going to go over our market stats of single family homes that are listed, pending, and sold. I'm going to give you some insight on what is happening in our market, what typically happens in this market in fall time, because we are fall/winter. I don't know if you saw, but there was snow this morning. Still a little bit left, lots of it gone, but we are November 5th. So let's start off with the active listing. So currently we have 2,016 listings. Now, this number from before is not last week, it's from a few weeks ago because you can't get the active listings backtracked, but you can see that it has dropped in the last few weeks. And if you take a look in St. Albert, that also has dropped in the last few weeks as well. Sherwood Park and Spruce Grove. This is normal. Oh, Spruce Grove actually went up. This is actually quite normal to have less listings available. Now, granted, there's already less listings to begin with, and it just tends to go down slower and slower. Now, what about the demand? What about people buying a house? Are less people buying? Typically, less homes get listed at this time of year, and typically, less people buy at this time of the year. I say typically because that's not what's happening right now. We put up a listing last Wednesday and had 72 showings and we had 16 offers. That house was under 400,000 and as you know from my market stats, if you've been watching my monthly updates and these, I talk about the average price that's being purchased right now is in the 500. So 450 to 550 is a very, very hot price point. Anything 350 to 450 is going to be nuts because most of these houses, if you're looking new, are going to be smaller. They're going to be duplexes, townhouses. Single family is possible, like the one I sold just on Sunday. No conditions, by the way. That was a property in the north side and it was on a main through road. It was facing, so it's not like it was in this exclusive little area. We did price it properly. We did not underprice it. There are strategies that some people just decide as sellers. I'm just going to throw my house on the market and see what happens. You can't do that, even though the market is hot. Buyers are well educated to understand if the house is too high in price. Now, doesn't mean that the buyers won't go crazy because they did. When you have 16 offers, it goes nuts. When you have 4, it's okay. When it goes to 6 to 8 to 10, things start to get a little crazy. Some of the things I saw in those offers were people who had been searching for a while and haven't been able to buy. That is a huge reason why people are increasing what they're willing to pay for in a house. And they're also still coming from out of province. Now, if you take a look at the pending sales that we had in this last week, so these are deals that went under contract. So, for example, the house I just sold, it went straight into sold. So it won't even show up in this number. You can see it, we're at 172, which is still pretty strong when it comes to how many deals are coming under contract for single family homes in Edmonton. And the same for the surrounding areas. It's all very similar. If we take a look at the solds, we'll take a look there. Last 7 days, we had 200 versus 334. So it is slowing down, but this is not an alarming number because this is typically what happens. Numbers do typically go slower. It doesn't mean that things don't still sell and that you have 70 some showings. There was obviously 71 buyers that were looking at this house that did not get the home and are still looking. The interest rates did drop a 0.5% for variable, which is going to also affect fixed rates eventually. Fixed rates is based on the bond rate. Variable rate is based on the one you always hear about in the media. Now, if we take a look at last year, at this time, what is the numbers going to be? We're very, very similar in terms of the solds, 200 versus 210, 18. So very, very similar. Nothing too different, though it seems very different when it comes to listing side because the listing side, there isn't a whole lot of properties for sale. So, what does this mean for you if you're a buyer and you're looking to buy? Now, if you're looking to buy new or resale, that's going to be a different story. So, let me talk to you about the resale. Resale, you need to have a clear understanding of what you're wanting and you need to have a clear understanding of what things are actually selling for. So, when you sit down with a buyer like an agent, we sit down with our clients to look at the market and to see if this neighborhood, let's say Crestwood, you're looking at, you want to see what has actually sold in the last 60 days. That is the most accurate benchmark for price and expectation that you can set. Now, you may have been looking a year ago or 2 years ago and you're thinking, well, was how much at that point. I want that house. Well, we don't have a time machine. We cannot travel backwards. And so you have to adjust your expectations, whether you like it or not. The prices have changed. The prices are in about 2 months, we'll be able to give you the full year's review. But we definitely have seen a 7 to 8% increase in price this year, which is not a normal Edmonton increase. Typically, we see a 1 to 2% increase. And people might say, well, what is going on? Is it just going to go back to 1 to 2% next year? I really highly doubt it. My speculation is that the prices are only going to go up. And the prices go up when the demand is high and the inventory is low. That's what's happening right now. We have very little properties for sale. I don't expect a whole lot of extra properties coming as we have winter and snow falling on the ground. But to start February, March, things are going to start to come back on the market. But in order for it to balance out, you have to have the same amount of listings coming on, if not more, than the demand that's there. And I don't think the listings will keep up to the demand. I think the demand continues to grow. Demand is already so high, yes, because of the interest rates, and yes, because of the out of province buyers, but also you've got the pent up demand of people who have not been able to buy / they haven't been realistic with the prices. They haven't realized that what they want is actually up here or down here. They didn't realize it and they're catching up. And so it's a build up. And we still have that big price difference between Edmonton and Calgary. We still are affordable, even though if you're a local Edmontonian like myself, you're going, what is happening with our prices? It's hard to even fathom that you have to pay that much money for a house now. And that's not just in Edmonton. We're seeing this in areas like Spruce Grove, Leduc, Beaumont. Those areas are known to be more affordable, and they have all creeped up in price. I looked at a house in Leduc the other day, and it was $477, and there's no that's crazy to me that that's how much that house would be in Leduc. Maybe even a couple years ago, 3-4 years ago, that would have been at least $30,000 to $50,000 cheaper. So the market has changed. Do not buy out of fear of increase. If you own a property right now and it works for you, you don't need to go quickly sell and buy, okay? If you're moving because you need to move and you've outgrown in the home, sooner the better. Buying in the winter months is actually a better strategy to beat out, because now it doesn't mean you're going to avoid multiples. I didn't expect our listing to have that many offers. And I'll tell you, I think 16 is probably the highest amount we've seen all at once. It took me an hour just to present the offers. But what you're going to see is the demand will be even higher in the spring, and we're probably going to have even more demand. Now, that means potentially more multiples, but also if you're buying and selling in the same market, which is usually what happens, you have to buy in that market. So there's a lot of things that you need to sit down and strategize with as a buyer when you're selling your home. If you're selling your home in another province, it's a different market than it is here. So you need to make sure you talk to the realtor to collaborate to make sure you understand all of those things. Now, in regards to the new home market, if you're looking to buy a new build, I've had some people reach out to me and ask for advice. And unfortunately, if you are working with the builder on your own without a realtor, you cannot just have a realtor come in at the last minute when you decide, I need to know if this price is right. We need to be a part of this transaction from the very, very beginning. We cannot just give some random advice because we need to know all the facts. And we are held on the line and we're responsible for the decisions and the guidance that we give you. And a lot of people don't know that you can use a realtor and it doesn't cost you extra. If someone says it costs you extra, that's a whole nother conversation, but it's not supposed to cost you extra. And it's important to understand all the nuances when it comes to buying new build, because new build, now it's at the end of the year. They're all trying to make quota, and they're all trying to make sure they have really solid numbers to show for 2024. And the market has been up and down for them. You can see and tell when the market is hurting a little bit for them when you start to see incentives and discounts. When you saw no incentives, no discounts, and a constant price increase, that's because they were selling and they didn't need to give incentives or discounts. And we're seeing some builders do that. I've noticed this whole year that almost all builders now, I believe, have no more legal fees included. Some of them already never included them, but the ones that did stopped. They're trying to save themselves extra money and the demand is high. They don't have to give you that incentive. Very strategic because I don't know if you saw, but the closing costs are now more money. Now, nowhere near are they the same as Ontario and BC, where it's like tens of thousands of dollars for land transfer tax. We don't have that. However, I was interviewed with CBC Edmonton, and we discussed. She wanted to know if she thought my clients were going to um, be prevented from buying a house because of this cost. Now, I told her that, of course, no one's going to like the increase. I mean, who wants to pay more money for anything? Nobody. However, the price differential is not significant enough that it's going to make you stop and buy a house. And if it does, you probably shouldn't be buying a house anyways. The price point is moving from maybe like 500 to like 1,000, maybe 1,200. That's not a massive difference. It's not like it was 500 and now it's $10,000. That's definitely not what has happened. And it's based on the price of the home that you're purchasing. So again, you can talk to the realtor because they can talk to the lawyer to kind of calculate these costs that you will incur when purchasing a home. But it's all part of buying a house. If you're a first time home buyer, you really should be saving money and putting money aside for things like that, including, even if you're buying a new house, an emergency house fund. If you don't have one, so important. Just because you're buying new and you have warranty doesn't mean you shouldn't have an emergency house fund. Because if, for example, your appliances stop working after 3 years, they're not supposed to last that short, but sometimes stuff happens. You need to make sure you are able to replace that fridge. So it all depends, but it's always due diligence and it's homeowner smart to always have money saved. Set aside $100, $500 a month just to like save up so that when you need that money, it's not a massive difference. Also, when you're buying an older home, furnaces typically only last 20 years. Water tanks only last about 10. It depends too if you maintain it. If you maintain it, it could last longer. If you just ignore it and don't do your maintenance, how many of you guys are watching and are homeowners that have not flushed out your water tank or regularly maintained your furnace and cleaned your furnace? I know that a lot of people don't do that on a regular basis and it will wear all of that equipment down faster. So if you're looking to save money, that is one way to do it. If you're looking to build equity before selling your home, that's also a really good strategy because that will make a massive difference on if you get multiple offers or not and if how we can price your home because there is a big difference between selling your house just the way it is after you've lived in there for 5, 10 years versus putting some effort into the home and selling your house. So that's kind of my like take on what's going on in terms of what you would do if you're a buyer or a seller. What's happening in the real estate market in the next month to 2 months. I don't have a crystal ball, but I will share with you this. I really do foresee a very, very busy spring market. So if you're looking to sell, buy in the spring, contact your realtor today to make the plans for tomorrow. Because when it comes to talking in January, February, I have a feeling it's going to be crazy. We had this a few years ago. The market started picking up in the middle of January already. It was really crazy. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's going to happen again this year. And if the weather ends up being mild, I don't know, I'm not a weather person, that also oddly, I know, impacts the real estate market as well. So if you have questions about how the real estate market is going to play out, with us looking at the average price of single family homes over 500, and that's like a 2-story, 1,800 square foot house in the last 6 years or so, you have expectations that you can set and have like an older home for less money or a newer home for more money and bigger house. And also it just depends on the area that you're purchasing in Edmonton. In West Edmonton and Southwest Edmonton is where we focus because that's kind of where our primary focus and clients are. You can look in North and the East and Southeast. They're all going to be different. I highly recommend looking at schools if you're interested in schools, and the rec centers, the roads, and the crime map. The Edmonton Police Crime Map will give you good insight on the crime, but it also dictates the price point of the homes. Sometimes there's less demand, so the prices are lower, which means more affordable for you, but less people are wanting to buy there, which also means for resale, you're going to have less. Finding a house that's a little bit more than you thought you needed to spend Now, I'm not saying you need to overspend. I'm just saying that if you have expectations of this kind of home and you think you're going to spend this much, including my out of province people. I know that you think we can get so much money for the house here, but you still can't buy like a mansion for $300,000 in Edmonton or 500 for that matter. So just you need to have your expectations managed and understand so that you can be guided towards what makes sense for your family, what is close to the roadways for your work and for your school and all the extracurricular activities. I know that if you live not from here, you think 30 minutes from there and there is not that far. But it is important because guess what we have in the winter? Snow and ice and really bad road conditions. And it's like, just wait, this is not the official first day of snowfall because not filling up on the road. But when that happens, might have seen my TikTok rant about people just forget how to drive. Uh, I'm talking about local Edmontonians. They forget how to drive. There's also lots of out of province people that have moved in and are like, what is going on? Why is it slippery? What is this white stuff on the ground? Should I be even leaving my house? You will need to leave your house because it's going to have snow for a lot longer than not. And so it's important to understand that that drive and commute can get much longer. Your 20 to 30-minute drive in the summer can literally go up to 45 minutes, even an hour sometimes, depending on the accidents or stalls on the road. So just keep in mind that it's really important. Edmonton's trying to be that 10-minute kind of access point. But I know here in Rosenthal and Secord, even more amenities are being built up. There's now a Shoppers Drug Mart, which I'm excited about because that means there's a um, Canada Post. And now it wasn't that far for me to drive to the Hamptons or to the Lewis Estates one, but now there's one that's literally going to be 2 minutes drive, not even from my house. So those types of things, those types of amenities are becoming more and more frequent in the newer areas. The older areas, you're closer to downtown, the River Valley, walking paths, and the schools. But the schools also are in high demand. So if you are a family looking to move here, make sure you check out the school situation and where you need to be living. If you're looking in St. Albert has almost a school in every neighborhood except for one. But it's very important to make sure you understand how the school systems work. Public and Catholic run differently. If the Catholic schools are very full, a lot of them, you have to be baptized Catholic in order to go to that school because it's in such high demand. There are private schools here, not as frequently used as the public and Catholic schools here. And of course, bus services and yellow bus services are a big part of it as well too. So today was a lot of input on just like, hey, you're looking to move, make some plans. The market is very strong for this time of year. And next week we'll talk again to see what's been happening. There's a long weekend coming up and there's fall break for kids in school. So there may be some more sales trying to get in and squeeze in before the end of the year. People who want to move in before Christmas really need to be moving in before the 15th of December because everything shuts down with lawyers and banks and whatnot. So it becomes very hectic to try to move over Christmas. So you want to be doing it right before, and then you'll be planning for January. Well, thanks so much for tuning in, guys. We'll see you next week.